Whatever is, I guess, easiest. I think the only thing is, if we do have people on camera, people shouldn't all have their mics on, because then that'll create feedback. So
Yes.
whatever people feel comfortable with, but I'm happy to stay logged. I'll keep my camera off, but stay logged in on Teams to see if anyone is having issues.
Okay, that sounds great.
And then you'll hit record once it starts.
Yes, yes, I will.
Okay.
It's like warm in this room.
It's very warm in
I
this room.
thought it was me.
No, it's very warm.
Ooh.
Okay, so chat is turned off.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. But there's no Q&A option though, right?
You want to be able to see all the excitement? Pretty exciting
Do you
times.
want to say we'll keep the chat on just for questions? Or
Is there a hand raise
Turn on
option?
the camera.
There is a send a reaction.
There is a raise hand.
You can raise a
Yeah.
hand.
Well,
Which,
that's
because we
what
can
we're
control
doing.
people to mute and
Well,
unmute
yeah.
if we need
If
to.
we were
Yeah,
making
okay.
noise and I turned on the mic,
Let's do that
and
then.
we were
Like,
here, then
just
it would
maybe
pop
just
us
in the beginning
front
instruct
forward.
people to raise their
I
hand.
feel like this way.
Turn down.
But I think most of the time I'm gonna leave the camera.
Oh,
I thought I was turning it off. There we go. Off. Yeah. Chris,
We also have the DC
I don't need to
Wi-Fi
see
here.
much
if you
on
want to
too
use
much.
it.
We already got right here. We're
I had unlimited.
you're realizing, hey, look, that's
And
not getting
Joe,
my young side.
before we
It's
get
all
started, so since rather than a top the dummy budget,
Yeah.
okay,
right.
so
Scott Roberts.
do we need to do anything at the
Yes.
top to say
Okay,
we're gonna
that's good.
remove it from the agenda?
So when we approve the agenda,
Troublemaker.
Yeah.
two choices. When we approve the agenda, you can say,
No, it's very
let's
nice.
take this
I
off.
move to, do I have to say I move
Yeah.
to, okay.
Or when we get to it, you say you want to postpone it. Either of those
Okay.
do the same thing.
Okay, it's officially 6 o'clock.
All right, call to orders.
Well, you said it first, so.
Oh, I was supposed to put
I
my
think
finger on my nose.
We're still
We're still
muted.
muted.
Oh, thank
Okay.
goodness. Thank goodness. That's right. Well,
Shall
what if
we?
we unmute? Yeah. I'm gonna call to order.
All right. Here we go.
Commissioner Pinkney, you've been doing this a while. Would you mind doing the honors and calling us to order?
It is now officially 6 p.m. I am calling the new ANC 5F meeting to order.
All right.
Mm.
Thought that camera was gonna be on.
Yeah.
Do so.
All right.
Public comment is next. Are there any public comments from the public?
I take that as
Is there anyone with their hand raised?
So, yeah, just as an introduction, or as we get started, if folks have any public comment, please use the reactions and the raise hand, and we can mute or unmute you. If we notice some feedback, we may mute you just for quality assurance, but we'll get through it. So the question is there any are there any public comments? Sound check. Can anyone else hear me on the other end?
This is going perfect.
Okay.
All right,
It's
let's
either
do it.
going too well or very badly. I'm not sure which.
All right.
I don't
Now,
see any
can we do
messages.
the election without the nice lady who was calling us today and saying that she wanted to monitor the election, or no?
She was going to swear in the officers.
Oh,
Yeah.
At the
Oh.
Rams.
but we could do the election, and then
Yeah.
whenever she comes
just
to
need
swear
someone
in,
to
we'll
run
swear
it.
it around.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are we doing the election next?
Yes.
Awesome.
So someone has to nominate.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess you all will do that for each other.
I will nominate Commissioner Hurst for treasurer.
We should start with the chair.
Okay.
I will nominate Joe Bishop Henchman, Commissioner Henchman, for chair. And I'm Commissioner Mark Galvon.
And will you accept that nomination?
I will accept that nomination.
Vice Chair?
I'll nominate Commissioner.
Wait, do we have a second?
You don't need seconds for
Okay.
nomination.
Great, thank you.
All right, yeah. I'll nominate Commissioner Anderson for vice chair.
And will you accept that nomination?
I accept that
Commissioner
nomination.
Anderson.
I accept the nomination.
Treasurer?
I nominate Commissioner Hurst for treasurer. He is the treasurer of his HOA, which is good enough for me.
Will you accept that nomination?
I will, yeah, that'll be great.
And secretary?
I nominate Commissioner Mark Galvin for secretary.
And you accept that nomination?
I do accept that, yes.
Thank you. Now all we have to do is wait for our person to come and swear everybody in.
Well, do we take a vote?
On all at once, panel?
She's in.
Yeah, as a,
Okay. And I see that Miss Williams has joined the session.
Okay.
Finally.
that's all right.
Hello.
Oh God, traffic was awful, and I have another one after this.
Oh.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but I spoke with Commissioner Williams today. Am I to understand that you all are not prepared to elect officers tonight?
Yeah.
No, we are.
We're doing it
currently
right
in the
now.
process of doing that.
Okay, well I defer to you.
Okay.
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 Commissioner Pinckney, I move that we accept those, given there's no, there's one nomination for each office, that we accept all four by acclamation.
Okay, we don't need a vote on that, so. I don't think we do.
Question.
We need to.
You nominated Mark for one position, and he's doing two. So do we have to nominate him for the second position?
I only accepted for the secretary.
What about recording
Which
secretary?
secretary? I'm sorry.
We're on DC law
Recording.
right now, and DC law only says secretary, because we haven't adopted bylaws yet.
Yeah,
Okay, but we said that.
Yeah,
so just for secretary.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So do we need to affirm, Joe? I guess for Commissioner Pinckney.
Just say without objection and it's done.
Without objection.
All
Congratulations.
right.
Right.
Oh, exciting.
Ms. Williams, I
Have
guess.
not been. I mean, this is the slate that you have selected.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now you're ready to move to do so.
Yes.
Yes.
Have you started your meeting?
Yes.
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 All right then. So I understand from what I've just heard, and from what I understand that what you've stated, that there's a motion by acclamation.
That's correct.
Yes, that's
Is there
correct.
anyone who's prepared to submit that motion?
I submit we move to accept this slate nomination by acclamation.
All right. It's Commissioner Sani.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Sani, so moved.
Did you move to do so, Commissioner Sani?
I did so move.
All right. The minutes should report that Commissioner Sani moved to accept this slate by acclamation. Is there a second?
I second.
And who is I?
Sylvia Pinckney.
Commissioner Pinckney. And I'm so sorry. Now we're looking at 5F 1 through 6 or 1 through 5. How many commissioners we have?
Seven.
7.
And which ones are vacant?
No
No
vacancies.
vacancies.
No vacancies.
Okay. So therefore, there has been motion and properly second that the current slate as stated. And if someone will state the slate for me.
Yes. The chair will be Commissioner Joe Bishop Henchman. The vice chair will be Commissioner Jennifer Anderson. The treasurer will be Commissioner Tony Hurst. And the secretary will be Commissioner Mark Alvon, myself.
Okay, this is Commissioner Galvin.
Yes.
LVAN.
Yes.
All right. So this slate, as stated, so what I'm going to do, because this is by acclamation, I will ask for an affirmation. I'll call for a vote by SMD. 5F01, how do you vote?
Yes, aye.
5F02,
Aye.
5F03,
Aye.
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 5F04,
Aye.
It's not you.
5F05,
Oh, yeah, sorry. It is.
I.
5F06,
Aye.
5F07.
Aye.
5F07, do you agree with this?
Yes.
Okay. It has been moved and properly seconded, and after a voice vote, that this current slate of commissioners as stated for chair, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary are proposed to you, and you received an aye vote from all of them. Therefore, by acclamation, this slate of officers is represented in the motion are installed. I want to thank you all for doing so. And I don't believe I introduced myself. I am Yes Williams. I came rushing in here. I was so afraid that you would be waiting on me. And I serve as the assistant to the executive director. And on his behalf of our office, especially for him, we thank you all for taking this. It's enough that you're commissioners, but the fact that your officer shows a further commitment for the treasurer and for the chairperson. Dawn Dickerson will be getting in touch with you. There will be separate orientations for you. For the treasurer, do not be daunted on this. Dawn is there to help you, and there should be no problem. Really, don't give up on this. And once you get the hang of it, you'll be just fine. Like many, many commissioners that we don't hear from in this matter. So, having done that, I say go ahead, do good work, and if you don't mind, I will release myself from you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Williams.
you all. Bye-bye. And once again, I say welcome back, Commissioner Williams. You got yourself somebody who knows the ropes, so that's a blessing.
Amen.
Bye-bye, all.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you all. I guess I'll take the gavel. So thank you, Commissioner Pinckney, for
You're
getting
welcome.
us started, and welcome everybody. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any modifications of our agenda tonight?
I move to postpone the resolution to adopt the 2023 budget.
Do you want to speak to that?
I'm to postpone it until we've had further time to discuss and develop our budget.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved by Commissioner Anderson and seconded by Commissioner Pinckney to postpone item 9, resolution to adopt the budget. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that item is postponed. Further amendments or changes?
I have a question.
Commissioner Pinckney.
Do we positively have to vote on bylaws tonight?
I believe we do.
Yes.
Because I have some changes I would like to discuss. And, but anyway, since we have to vote, that's okay, we have to vote.
Further comments or questions or motions? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. From anyone?
A second?
A motion and then a second.
So I'll motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Galvan, seconded by
I second.
Commissioner Anderson. Is there any objection to approving the agenda as amended? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. On our agenda, the next item is bylaws. I will relinquish the chairship to the vice chair since I'm the sponsor of this. So I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Anderson.
To call the resolution to adopt the bylaws. Okay.
I'm
So-
sponsoring it. I shouldn't chair the debate on it.
Okay. I open discussion on the bylaws.
Okay, I'll go first if that's okay. I believe that some of the bylaws are actually procedures and not bylaws. If you look at 6 through 10, I think they are procedures instead of actual bylaws.
Commissioner Pinckney, are you referring to Articles 6 through 10 or 6 through 10 in one of the specific sections?
And if there were specific, if you point to the specific article for
Okay,
discussion.
let me go back. Okay. Article 2, Section 2, the second sentence. No commissioner shall have exclusive control over activities that take place within the commissioner's single member district, SMD, is vague and possibly unenforceable. What does exclusive control mean? The full commission doesn't have exclusive control over activities. The way this is written is not subject to clear interpretation.
Is there an amendment that you'd like to propose?
Well, I would like to propose us having a quick discussion to hear what everybody else thinks.
If I could speak to that.
Since it's so important to do the
Sure.
bylaws.
Or Commissioner Johnson?
Sure. So that statement is verbatim from OAG letter 22-07. That's where I drew that from. And it's in reference to a question that the OAG faced over whether, I guess in that, I forget which commission that dealt with an ANC commission. A member or a commissioner was asserting that that commissioner was responsible for all licenses and developments and stuff that the DC law says the full commission is responsible for, and that commissioner was asserting they were exclusively responsible for it. And so the OAG sent out a letter that said that's a misreading of the law. The law says that the full commission decides those things, and then that's where that sentence comes from.
Okay. Article 5, sections 6 through 9 don't appear to be practical. These are the kinds of details that should be in the operating procedures manual, where they can be tweaked as needed based on the commission's actual experience from month to month. Section 10. OANC, okay. Are commissioners permitted to hold joint public meetings across commission lines? That's section 10.
Is there?
Is that legal?
That's in DC code. I have it as 1-309.12A that allows for joint meetings.
Okay.
And this language is a restatement of that section of code.
Okay.
And then on the item before that you raised, that I don't want to just let that one go because that's I think a very fair point of making sure that whatever procedures we adopt for public notice and public posting, both before a meeting and after a meeting, are practical and achievable. And I think we would benefit from your advice and insight on what would be practical and achievable, certainly as a starting point. And then we can always, the way bylaws are written is we can always exceed the minimum set in a bylaw. So I'd certainly be interested in what you might suggest on, for instance, how early things need to be posted, and then how quickly after a meeting minutes should be posted.
Okay, I'm trying to get through this quickly.
Sure,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so the Article 5, and we were at Article 5, Section 10. So next point.
Okay, okay, so moving on. Sections 3.3 through 3.6 appear not to be practical sometimes.
Sorry, just for point of clarification, Article 3, Section 3. I think I said 3.3.
Article 3 sections
Okay.
3.3 through 3.6.
Wait, I'm sorry, which article?
Under which article?
Sections 3.3 through 3.6.
So just to clarify, which article are those sections under, just so we're looking.
Because there are
at the
several
position.
section 3s.
It's the one,
I think it's in the we're in the procedures now.
posting
Yeah, we're in the
7 to
procedures.
10 days. I'm sorry, it says right here in my notes that it is policy and procedures we're in
Yeah.
now.
It's the 10-day before meeting posting.
Yeah. Well, anyway, You just said that we can go back and can talk about this.
Oh, I mean, we can talk about anything. Let me make that clear. But
Okay, so 10 days in advance, it says here.
right.
ANC activities quite often move very fast, and time is of the essence in almost everything we do. So, on lots of occasions, you won't have 10 days to do whatever it is that we need to do in order to assist our public. So 10 days might not be the magic number. Okay.
Is there a number? Did you want to? Sorry, Commissioner Pinckney. Would you like to say all of your points and then discuss each individual point?
No, we can just do each point
Okay.
as we go down, because I'm trying to move the meeting on.
Yeah,
of course,
I'm
of
not
course.
trying to
Of
monopolize.
If there is a number, if there are amount of days rather than 10, is there an amount of time that you have in mind?
7 seems to work best for everybody. Well, that I know in the commissions that I'm aware of.
And that's in Article 5, meeting.
Yeah.
Section 5.
Okay, section 6.3, under policies and procedures. The reporting term is November 1 through October 31, or has it been changed?
That's 7.
Oh, could you read that, Commissioner Pinckney?
The annual reporting term was November 1 through October 31. Has that changed?
So DC law requires that we submit the report on December 1st. That's all DC law requires. So we can set whatever time frame we want of period of coverage other than that. I wasn't aware of what it was in 5E.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And so, it's just a question of if we've got to turn it in December 1st, how much time do we want to give us to write it and circulate it and edit it beforehand, and then turn it in? So I have in here that it covers through November 30th, and you're saying maybe up to October 31st. Am I correct?
November 30th, no, wait a minute.
October 31st, I think you said, right?
November 1 through October 31st.
Okay.
And I think you have December 1 through November 30th in your.
Right. So I would, when we get to it, I'd certainly be willing to make that change.
Okay, sections 7.1 through 7.3. On the committees that we have said we want to do, will those committees be the public joining us for a committee?
That is the intention.
Okay.
Or my intention, at least. I can't speak for everybody else.
Under the draft bylaws, Article 6, it kind of outlines what committees look like and how
Okay.
they are distinguished.
And what will the committees be?
So those,
ABRA committee, zoning committee?
yes,
Public
Public
safety
space
and
committee.
transportation.
and those are outlined in, I believe, the standing procedures. Is that correct?
Yeah, in
Commissioner
8.
Bishop
In
mentioned.
8.
Okay, and finally, I think I saw something about annual anti-bias training. Exactly what is anti-bias training? Because in here it says that we are required to do this. Anti-bias against what? Or who?
So that one I drew from the ANC 6A Code of Conduct, although more recently there's been a letter from BEGA on training that creates a question of what kind of trainings we can do while complying with gift policies. So training might not be the right word now, so there's a bit of a cloud over that one.
Okay.
But the intention was the training provided by the DC Office of Human Rights, or FOAG provides that training as well.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Are there, looking at other commissioners in the room, are there any points or anyone who would like to respond to some of the points that Commissioner Pinckney raised? Or propose edits to the bylaws or standard operating procedures?
Let me do one that maybe will be easy, and then we'll do the harder ones. So, in standard procedure 6.3, which has a report coverage period of December 1 to November 30th. I will move, and I think Commissioner Pinckney, you tell me if this matches what you would like, or what you were flagging, to change that to November 1 to October 31st.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Okay, so I'll make that motion to amend it.
Seconded.
One quick thing. Okay, if we are requesting that developers send us their 1 day after our permits for a vote, we need procedures that tell them exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And included in the procedures.
That's something I became aware of something that we do after I wrote these. And actually DC law says the commissioner does that. Unless the commissioner is vacant, and then the chair of the commission does it. So that's an area where.
Okay, so what are you saying now?
I'm saying DC law will supersede anything that we write here. The
All right, so
commissioner
we
does
don't
that.
have to.
I think you raise a good
Refer
point. We ought to, just in case I learned this, and Commissioner Pinckney already knew it. We, as a commissioners, approve after-hours construction permits for projects within your district. That doesn't go to. It can go. You can send it to a full commission vote, but you are empowered by DC law to handle it yourself.
Thank you.
And so,
Okay.
I mean, we can say that somewhere.
Yeah, because
but
that's how it's always been done.
yeah. But we should make sure there's no objection to that November 1st to October 31st change. And
Any objections to November 1st? Okay.
why don't we do the 10-day one next?
And just on the developer one, so for rules that are outlined in DC law already, do we need to adopt them? I think we're just kind of having that discussion, but to wrap that point up, if they're already outlined by an agency, do we need to adopt them into our bylaws if they supersede what's written in our
I would
procedures?
think that there's so many agency laws, and especially when it comes to permits, licenses, and different things like that. Almost everybody has a timeline for different things to be done. And so we need to be aware of those timelines, and if we want this in our procedures,
Right.
it should be the correct timelines for different agencies.
I would move on Article 1, Section 2, the sentence you flagged there, to add at the end of it, comma, except as stated by DC law. Just making clear DC law
Okay,
supersedes.
except.
I mean, we all,
as
yeah,
stated.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we all know DC law supersedes this, but
Right.
maybe it'll give us some comfort that, like, there's something you can point to in here and say, I'm not violating the bylaws, giving an after-hours permit, because it says, DC law says I can.
Sure.
Okay.
So I'll make that motion.
Any
I second
seconds? Any objections? So moved. Okay, shall we move back to the 10-day point?
All right, so Article 5, Sections 6, etc., references 10 days at several points. Well, I guess you're the secretary, and I'm the chair.
Sorry, say that again.
So, the 10-day thing. And
Yes,
then-
yes.
And then I think you flagged 5 days after the meeting for posting of the minutes also, as whether that was practical.
Yes. So does it say in DC law 7 days before, 5 days after, or is it something different? And if so, how did we come up with 10?
So I'll say what the minimum is under DC
Okay.
law. The minimum under DC law is we have to post the draft agenda 7 days in advance. Doesn't need to have any details under DC law. It just needs to be the list of the things we will be discussing. And then minutes, I don't think is 5. I don't think it's 5 days.
Under
It's-
section 3.7, draft minutes of regular meetings shall be circulated to commissioners no later than 3 days after a regular meeting. And commissioners shall request edits no later than 3 days before the next regular meeting.
That's DC law, or
Or I think the question was DC law, but
What
that's
DC?
what's
Oh,
right in
I'm
our
sorry.
documents,
That- yeah,
or
that-
our draft documents.
Yeah, that By DC law, I
I
am.
brought the statute just in case. It's a good question. I think it's much longer than 5 days, whatever it is. I'm trying to remember that.
Well, while he's looking as secretary, I think it's really important to have minutes out as soon as possible for folks who didn't participate, or who were unable to make a meeting, and be able to follow up with the respective commissioner or with the commission itself in a timely manner. And I know that that's pretty it's pretty stringent, but I know that it's important, and I'll help hold myself accountable for that.
Should we take the discussion into two parts, because I think they're
Yeah.
slightly separate. So first is the 10-day agenda and supporting documents circulated before the meeting, and then there's the 5-day reporting out with the recording and the meeting notes. Shall we take, I think, what's the easier part, the recording and the meeting minutes? Are there any objections to the 5-day timeline as drafted?
Well, I think she wants an answer to the question
Well,
first.
Question
Yeah.
first? Okay.
While he's doing that, let me do this.
Sure.
When it comes to the minutes, we don't need everything that was ever said. We just need
Sure? You sure?
those important votes that we take and other important information. But the other stuff, it doesn't have to be there. And in fact, a good suggestion, and I know you don't want to do this, but look at 5E's minutes. We had one of the best secretaries ever. And just see how they did it with the major issues. Not just conversation, hi, how you doing? And that, you don't need all of that.
Sit down.
Any-
Silver.
So why don't we pivot, or do you
Yeah,
have a
sure.
point? Or go ahead.
No, I'll just respond to that, and I respectfully disagree. I think it's important from a transparency perspective. Now, I'm never going to be able to get everything right that folks say, but I think when as public officials, that as much as we can get to show people how we feel and how we vote, so that they can contact us and help us make decisions. So anyway, that's at least my personal perspective. That's all.
I kind of agree. It doesn't need to go into the discussions about what we had for lunch. But I think there's some balance to be struck between the high level points of these are the yay votes, these are the nay votes. I think there is a benefit to having at least some of the exposition as we discuss things, versus we talked about the bylaws, versus we discussed whether or not 7 days or 10 days was important. And Commissioner Belbon wouldn't have to get every single argument, but enough to color in the painting or the picture that the minutes, I think, should be showing. And there's legally
Okay.
compliant and there's appropriate. That's
I agree with that. Bylaws are an important issue.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with that. But see, this is your first meeting.
Yeah, that's true.
As we go along, people will get a little anxious in a meeting. There will be conversation between two people, and that's what I'm talking about. You don't need all of that, just the important stuff.
Sure, I would agree that I think capturing the spirit of the discussion is important. I think we're also making a best effort to have video recordings of the meeting.
Yeah, you have the video.
Right, and I think what can also help is a lot of the systems that are used for meeting recordings have an auto transcription feature that isn't perfect but captures a lot of the discussion anyway. So I think we're still waiting on Commissioner Bishop Henchman to
I don't
find-
think there's a deadline in the
Okay.
statute. I may be incorrect on that.
I believe there's at least OANC does require minutes be submitted at some point, if I'm recalling, right? Along with the end of year reports, if I remember correctly.
I wasn't able to find an answer to the question. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
So to kind of cap off that part of the discussion, does anyone have an objection to the 5-day timeline for submitting minutes, making sure that our recording is up, as long as that works for the secretary.
Draft minutes within
Sure, of
5
course,
days
yes,
after
draft.
Yes,
the- If he can do it, I have no objection to it.
Okay, with none noted, I will keep that in the draft.
Can I make one point?
Okay.
I apologize to folks. I should have made an announcement that this meeting is going to be recorded, and I did not start the recording, so I'm going to start it now. I apologize,
Yeah, you do.
Good that we have minutes.
but I will make
Yeah.
sure I have
I've been-
excellent minutes.
I've been taping
Yeah,
it just in
it's-
case.
Okay,
so-
okay.
That first bit wasn't.
So we'll have an
Apologies.
audio recording.
You can fire me now.
Well, all that I said.
Ah, those great points
And
you made.
just as we're
Oh,
making, in the
that's
spirit of
amazing.
making public
I've been doing an
announcements,
audio recording, so we have that at least.
Oh.
just in the spirit of making a public announcement to folks who are joining us online and in the room, if you do have any questions along the way, or if you have any issues that need sorting, please raise your hand, either virtually or in person. Okay, going back to the distribution of the agenda and supporting materials, the 10-day timeline. Does anyone have any points that they'd like to discuss about that, or an amendment to the 10-day proposal?
So just to lay out, it's a couple of things, because there's us posting the draft agenda, us posting the agenda with details, which the statute doesn't. I think the statute says we should try to do it 48 hours, but it's not a shall. It's not a must that we have to do. And then there's when we want people to get stuff to us. So it's kind of three different things that are all connected with each other.
Right.
So how I have it here, which I'm not opposed to talking about certainly, is people have to get us stuff 10 days, and then we post everything 7 days. And the gap is to allow your chair and your secretary to collect it all together and chase down stuff and actually get it posted.
What kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, if there's presentations being submitted or reports being
Okay.
submitted or draft resolutions or
Okay.
anything like that. So that's how it's set up right now with the 10 and the 7. So my only, there's pride of authorship, so obviously I'm going to be like defensive about what I wrote, but like whatever we settle on, just bear in mind these are all connected. So if we move one date, that may make another date impractical.
And that's for my own context, because I did review these, but there's a lot of them. That's not precluding something being introduced into the agenda if it arises the day before. It's just something the commission will need to vote to accept onto the agenda as an addendum or an addition during the commission meeting.
Right, because you can also introduce an agenda item
Yeah.
at the meeting as well.
So just as Commissioner Anderson deleted an item from the agenda when we approved the agenda, you could also do the other way and add an item to the
Yeah,
agenda. And there are commissions that have that procedure, but require a 2/3 for that. That's not what I'm doing here. It's still a majority to amend the agenda and add it without notice. Just because I didn't think that was something that should require 2/3 because if a majority of us think, look, I know we weren't able to post this 7 days, but it's still important and we got to deal with it today. A majority should be able to do that.
One question. If someone has to present their project to us, are we going to have them present in February and we can talk about it and then have them come back in March or in April for a final vote? Or will we listen to the presentation and vote at the same meeting?
As it's structured, it's up to the commission to decide that. So, if something's on the agenda, it could just be an informational presentation.
Oh, well, that's different. I'm talking
Or-
about votes.
I mean, if somebody wants to add something to so let's say there's a project in 5F07 and you want to bring in the developer to present, you can notice it as just a presentation, an informational
Information only.
presentation,
Yeah, okay.
or you can notice it as informational presentation and vote. And then when we're here, we can be like, all right, let's vote on it. Or anybody could move, as Commissioner Anderson did earlier, to say, I don't think we're ready to vote on this today, so I move that we postpone it to the next meeting. And that can always happen.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
And I would suspect that it would depend on the issue as well. And I think part of the suggestion of making sure that there are materials that are circulated prior to the meeting is so that the public has access to the
Yes.
meeting, so that they come to the meeting prepared to ask questions.
So I think the only unresolved thing, which I don't want to let go, is whether 10 days, 7 days is too long. And this should be a question for all of us, because we're all going to have stuff we want to add to the agenda. What's the right number?
Well, I can go with the 10 days, having all the information being into you. And then you have that 7-day time period to actually get out the agenda.
So, right, it would be a three-day
Right.
period, right?
3-day
Yeah,
period.
between
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
7 days, yeah.
Okay, I can go with that.
So, any objections to that kind of cascading timeline of 10-7?
I think that's what we have now. So
Yeah.
I thought it was something else.
what did you think it was? Just so I know.
I thought you were talking about 10 days prior to the meeting, you would get the agenda to the public.
Oh.
And I'm saying,
Yeah.
why is he doing 10,
Right.
when it's 7? Okay,
7.
that's why.
And the idea here too is that basically we would publicize to any external presenters who want to come and speak to us that they have this timeline, so that encourages them to submit their materials earlier as well.
And maybe I'll regret saying this too, but like my view as chair is until I've hit post on the 7th day before the meeting, you can still get me stuff and I'll put it on the agenda. So
Okay.
You're already breaking the rules.
I know.
Bylaw. That's right.
Okay. Are there any other points that Commissioner Pinckney had raised that any other commissioners would like to discuss? Are there any ones that Commissioner Pinckney that you felt strongly about that you wanted to raise that you thought were important for the group to discuss?
That's it on the bylaws.
Okay.
I put everything out there that I flagged.
Okay.
I move to adopt the bylaws and procedures as I move to adopt the resolution.
I second it.
So just to be clear, that the resolution is to adopt the bylaws and the standard procedures.
Right.
So before we move, any comments on the standard procedures?
I got a question.
Okay.
You're stating we accept the bylaws as written, correct?
That is what the resolution would be.
With the
But we've amended them. Is that your point?
well-
with some amendments,
Okay.
amendments.
I move we adopt the resolution with the proviso that it includes the amendments adopted here tonight.
Any seconds?
I have 2 more questions, real
Okay.
quick,
One more
because
question,
this is
too.
important.
All right, let's go. Shall we go with Commissioner Williams? Do you have
Oh,
a
go
question
ahead,
first?
go ahead.
Why we can't adopt this amendment and leave it open for changes? Because as it stands, I can't agree to, even with some of the amendments, I can't agree with the whole thing.
Are there
Okay.
particular sections that you wanted to discuss or propose edits to?
Yes, I'm gonna bring it up.
Or if you had like a topic, and then we can kind of figure out the section.
Yes,
My question comes
Okay.
in with.
Okay,
with
Commissioner
that
Pinckney.
question. What is the procedure for changing bylaws?
It's laid out in DC law, and then it's written here also that it's a 2/3 majority vote, and you need to give 2 weeks notice to the commission before you
Okay,
do them.
so anything written in the bylaws right now, I can give the commission to, well, we do that already we did it in 5E. But I'm trying to reassure Commissioner Williams that if there's something she does not like, she can come back with a change. But if you think it's not gonna be changed,
I
when
think
you
it's
come
not
back
gonna
with.
be changed.
I mean,
What
I think,
is it? What
yeah,
is it?
I think it's
So
worth if they're.
I'm
Okay.
gonna go with it for right now, but
Okay.
I strongly disagree.
I think you should quickly talk about it.
Or if there's a kind of a, you don't have to reference a particular article at this point. If there's a specific kind of idea that's referenced, that you had questions about and wanted to raise.
I know.
In the meantime, single member district meetings. I did run across something about single member district meetings.
I don't think I had anything in here on it, because it's not something we can really govern. You can do
Whatever.
It's not really contemplated in DC law. So.
Okay.
That was one of my questions. As long as this document is a live document, I can deal with it.
Okay.
Deal with it. If it's not live,
I hope I've demonstrated that I'm, I can't promise to agree with any changes, but I hope I've demonstrated here that I respond to concerns that are raised and we try to adjust them.
Yeah, you did.
And then it's out of my control after this. Then it's up to all of us. So.
It'll just be subject, and we can always change it with a vote. Okay, with that in mind, let's go back to the motion. So Commissioner Bishop Henchman has introduced the resolution. Are there any seconds?
Second.
We're seconding the one with the provisos.
With
Yes,
amendments.
seconding the motion to adopt the resolution and standard procedures with the edits as discussed. Okay, any objections? Okay.
Wait, sorry, who was the motion? I'm sorry, just.
It was my motion.
Motion, and then who was the second?
Commissioner Hurst. Okay,
question.
yes, Commissioner Hurst.
Can you put the word live in that motion? Because the way you're stating it, it's like this is kind of creepy.
So the way that Commissioner Bishop Henchman, you want to explain, is the way to change the bylaws, is that noted in the bylaws or is that part of DC law?
It's both. It's
Okay.
in the bylaws and it's in there. And then, we have to adopt bylaws.
Right.
And then, because right now we don't have anything. We're just going off of DC law and kind of whatever we want to do. Once we adopt it, then that triggers the ability to amend them in the future.
Right. So, right. So basically there's a commission, basically it is in effect can be amended in the future. But I don't necessarily think we have to add the word live to calling them our live bylaws if there are no objections to that.
I think under the sunshine law, we have to at least do a hand vote, if
Okay.
not a roll call vote.
Yeah.
On adopting the,
On
okay.
yeah. Let's do a roll call.
Let's do a hand vote. So all in favor, aye. Raise your hand. Okay, all in not favor.
Opposed?
All opposed. Okay, Commissioner Williams.
Did you vote, Commissioner Anderson?
I did.
Okay.
I voted in favor.
Do I say in the eyes of the
Oh,
secretary?
okay, and
or?
the ayes have it and the motion passes.
Yes.
And I would like to hand over the chair duties back to the chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. The next item on our agenda is the resolution to join the ANC Security Fund. Commissioner Hurst,
I am sponsoring that resolution. As the treasurer, I think that's pretty required, and I think we should do that. Is there anyone who would be? Yeah.
so just so you all know, just so you're aware, this would involve a $50 expense.
Yes.
So it approves that as well. Is there any debate or amendments on this resolution?
No, it's law, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Right.
It is.
But we'll vote for that law. I guess. I don't know. That's right.
All right, Commissioner Hurst has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Galvan. Is there any objection? I'm going to say without objection on that one. Then.
Yeah. Resolution passed.
Resolution is adopted.
Yes.
Next resolution is the opening of the ANC5F bank account. Commissioner Hurst.
Yes, I have visited 3 banks: Citibank, Truist, and Eagle Bank. And 2 out of the 3 of them gave me a print off of the terms and conditions for their personal accounts. Eagle Bank would like to charge a $10 monthly fee unless we have $15,000. I feel like that means that we'll be paying a $10 fee a long time. Citibank would like to charge us a $15 fee unless we have a $5,000 minimum balance. I feel like we may be able to keep a $5,000 minimum balance depending on how we spend our money, so it feels like that might be the way to go. Truist tells me that they have no fees, but they won't give me a print off, and I don't know that I asked for paper, I asked for print off, and a lot of people will tell you that they have no fees, and then it will be a surprise. So I would personally be in favor of Citibank. One thing I did find out is that when I had a meeting with one of the ANC people, was that she was saying that we need 4 signers on this account. Usually it's the 4 officers, that those 4 officers would need to go to the Citibank where I set up the account. Just to let everyone know, I was thinking of setting it up at Citibank on K Street. Unless someone really wanted a different city, or if someone had a different bank account, or if they had a different location of Citibank that they really wanted me to go to, I'd consider that. So that's homework I've done so far on that.
And how many signatures do we need on our checks?
I'm told
Just
2.
2.
Yeah.
That would be you and the chair.
Yeah, except for if either of us were getting our money reimbursed, then I couldn't sign a check that would go
Okay,
to
so the
2.
vice chair.
So
I
then,
think-
maybe we could ask for 3. I was
I think
told
it
we
was-
needed 2,
I think
but
it's 2, and I think it's the treasurer and another. In our bylaws that we adopted, it says all checks shall be signed by 2 officers,
right.
one of whom shall be either the treasurer or the chair.
Right, yeah. And if ever we were reimbursing the treasurer
Right.
for something I paid for, then the chair would have to sign it, whoever the chair was.
So who would be the second signature?
Probably-
Secretary or the
probably the
vice
vice
chair?
chair.
I need 3 signatures on
Vice
that sign card.
Well, there'd be 4 total signers who could sign, but I was thinking that you only need 2 signatures is what it's saying on the check.
There's actually
Writing
only
one.
2, well, I think there are 2 places on the check to really sign.
2 places to sign, right.
Yeah.
So I think the idea is we have 4 signatories on it, people who can sign for the account is the distinction.
Yes.
Versus 2 people on the check.
Right.
Okay.
All right. We've already been debating it, but is there further debate or discussion or amendments? We will have to amend it to put the name of the bank in there.
Okay.
Do you feel like you need to visit more banks, or are you?
I personally would be in favor of moving forward with Citibank,
Okay.
unless someone has a strong feeling that they don't like the.
So I will
Citibank.
interpret that as Commissioner Hurst moves to fill in the blank on page 7 with Citibank.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Galvan. We'll move to debate on that question. So what you just asked for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody have a favorite bank that's not Citibank?
Be open to hearing about it. Yeah.
I appreciate the research Commissioner Hurst did to get the fees, and I agree that I trust the ones that have actually given us written documentation.
Do they have any other? So that's the monthly fee that would be right. Do they have any other fees that are notable that we should be aware of?
If we want to deposit more than $10,000 of cash, there's a cash deposit fee. There's incoming domestic or international
Okay.
wire fee.
Noted.
There's an insufficient funds fee too. We could get hit with if we ever hit into that. I mean, that might be more realistic.
What is that fee?
Yeah.
It's $35
Okay.
per.
Seems pretty standard.
Is that the same for the other bank you? That we received?
Let me look down.
Not a reassuring discussion.
Maintenance, $15. It seems like I'm sorry, I don't know what the insufficient funds fee charge is on the Eagle Bank. I can look down and try and get that.
While he looks, is there any further discussion on the banks, Commissioner Pinckney?
Only because it's money. Could you quickly tell the public how much 5F now has in their budget and how much we will acquire each quarter so that everybody will know?
That is an excellent question.
And we did have just for folks who are joining later, we did have an item on the agenda to discuss the budget. We are postponing that until later, until we have more time to discuss the specifics of the budget.
So Commission 5F, as we all know, is brand new. Started January 1st. And right now, if we had a bank account, which we don't, it would have $0 in it. DC, through special legislation, has provided emergency allotments to the 6 new commissions, including ours. And our emergency allotment will be $4,838.25. And we will get that as soon as we complete all of the paperwork associated with the security fund and open a bank account where it can be deposited and all the other stuff we're doing tonight. After that, we have a quarter 2 allotment. We're now in fiscal quarter 2 of a further $4,531.71. So that adds up to about $9,000 and change that we'll have before the end of March. And then after that, we're now on the regular quarterly cycle of about $4,500 a quarter. So right now we're kind of on the cycle to receive about $18,000 a fiscal year. And that's set citywide through a formula based on how much population we have. 5E, to the best of my knowledge, ended 2022 with about $48,000 accumulated over the years from the taxpayers of Bloomingdale, Eckington, and Edgewood. And they are under no obligation under DC law to transfer any of that to 5F Commission. I did want, maybe now is the right time to note this, I did want to take the temperature of everybody if that's something we want to pursue. Either probably first by writing a polite letter to Commission 5E, drawing their attention to this, and then maybe doing other stuff after that to propose a more equitable division of the assets of old 5E into 5E and 5F. But I don't want to derail the discussion here, but I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, because I wanted the public to know exactly how much funding we actually receive.
Yeah, $18,000 a year. So, and that pays for everything. Whatever staff we may have, whatever supplies we may spend.
$18,000 a year, and we have 14,000 people combined.
Yeah.
I found the fee schedule at the back of the Eagle Bank account. It says insufficient funds fee is $36. The other thing that I thought was really interesting, right underneath that, it says 2 signatures required, which is something we would need, has a fee of $90.
This is Citibank?
No, this is Eagle.
Oh,
that's a yearly fee, yeah.
Of $90. That's
Just because it's 2 signatures.
Does Citibank have a similar?
See, it didn't say anything in any of the stuff on Citibank about a 2 signature fee. So I'm hoping that means it's not there, but that's as dangerous as something.
How about this? If we go to Citibank and
then they start
and
adding
they tell
weird
that,
fees?
we'll do an emergency meeting and maybe pick it up on bank.
Okay.
So,
Sounds fine. Yeah. If we find out there's weird fees, let's get out of it. Let's not do it.
any further discussion? All right. First, we have the amendment to add Citibank. That was moved and seconded. Is there any objection to that? Seeing none, that amendment is adopted. Back to the full resolution as to adopt it. Commissioner Hurst moved it. Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Sani. Is there any objection? Seeing none, it is adopted unanimously. Next item on the order of business is the adoption of the 2023 meeting calendar. Commissioner Galvan. We are here on the third Thursday, which has already proved confusing for many people who think we are going to be forever here on the third Thursday. Why don't you clear it up? Sorry, third Tuesday. Yeah.
Third Tuesday. So, looking at all of the different, both other ANC meetings and Civic Association meetings, both Edgewood and Eckington Civic Association meetings, who meet on the the different Tuesdays of the month, or every other Monday on the month. This resolution looks is proposing essentially to do the fourth Tuesday of each month, with the exception of August, and a couple dates adjusted to avoid holidays, because the fourth Tuesday of the month in December lands on December 26th. So taking into consideration that as well, and any other holidays around there. So even though we are required only to have 9 meetings a calendar year, we're essentially looking to have 11 to keep up with anything that may come up through regular order of business, and make sure that we stay on top of things and be quick to move on things that come before us. So that's what I'm proposing. I'll go through each of these dates just real quick. January 24th, February 28th, March 28th, April 25th, May 23rd. I'm also sharing my screen here so folks can see it. May 23rd, June 27th, July 25th, and then there will be no meeting in August of 2023. September 26th, October 24th, November 28th, and then we move the last meeting of the year of calendar year 23 to December 19th instead of the 26th. So I would propose to move this forward if there are any.
All right.
I have a
So
question.
that is Commissioner Galvan's resolution. We'll open up for questions. Commissioner Pinckney.
Are you sure that we only have to have 9 meetings a year? Because it was 10.
Yeah, so DC code, which is 30911B1, directs each ANC to meet in public session at regular intervals at least 9 times per year.
Okay.
And that's at locations that are designated to be reasonably accommodated, but there is a emergency directive. I think it was
It's a law. It's an emergency
law that was passed in order to allow us to do meetings virtually as well. So these meetings can be both virtual or in person, or they can be both, as we're doing today.
And that expires in October, although everyone kind of thinks it's going to get extended again. So. But it's not yet. Right now it expires in October.
I would like to put for discussion to amend the additional January meeting date to be the last Tuesday of January, so January 31st, rather than the 24th, recognizing that we're a new commission and we're getting things started, and also noting that the 24th is in effect a week from today, and we haven't noticed the meeting or published the agenda. I think moving it just for January to the 31st might be prudent so that it gives us more time to prepare.
So Commissioner Anderson has moved to amend the resolution where it states January 24th to change that to January 31st. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hurst. Is there objection?
I don't have an objection, but I assumed, well, at first I didn't know we were having 2 meetings.
I will object and let's do debate. So go ahead, Commissioner Pinckney.
Because the commissions usually have all of this included in their initial January meeting. So that was why I was sort of confused as to why we were having 2. But now that you're moving it further back, it works better. Because people would really be confused if we had one on the 24th.
Sure, and I think because I am very excited that there are people listening in and taking part in this riveting civic debate, but because this meeting is primarily procedural about getting us set up for bylaws, we wanted to make sure, I think it's important to have a meeting in January where we can discuss community business. So I do think it's important, and I agree with you that if we push it back a little bit further, it'll give chance for people to give us suggestions on what to discuss.
Any further discussion or debate on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll do a hand vote on the amendment to change January 4th to January 31st. All in favor, raise your hand.
January 24th.
Sorry, did I say that wrong?
January 24th, you said 4th.
January 24th to January 31st. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed? None. The amendment is adopted. Back on the main resolution. Any further debate?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
All the dates. Why do we have to have 11 or 12 for the whole year? There's no, I'm gonna call it vacation time. And if need be, during those times when on vacation, if a call meeting has to become, then we can schedule a call meeting. But we don't have to meet all 12 months.
Commissioner Galvan.
Yeah, I would say, well, 11. It's 11 months. We have a break in August, so there is a month that we won't have a meeting. I would say that I think it's important to have the meetings on the schedule. We can take them off and amend them at a later date if we want to do that. Maybe as we get closer, if we don't see anything that's coming down, but it's my opinion that we should. I don't want to miss anything that may be important that may come up during those months. And maybe that's just my inexperience, right? Maybe nothing never happens during those time periods, but I think it's important that if something does come up that we're able to take it up. The other thing I will mention about that is I think we can continue to be very accessible. I know we're all meeting in person today, which is great to see folks, but it's also, you know, if we decide to go virtual more consistently, then we can be other places and still have our meetings and still be accountable. So at least that would be my 2 cents.
Well, I'm thinking that if we have 11 meetings, if a commissioner has nothing on the agenda and they need not to be here doing a specific meeting, you know, we volunteer.
I know.
They can half our pay.
And as long as that we have quorum, the meeting can proceed too,
Right.
right?
Well,
So as
yeah,
long as we have quorum.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's understandable, but generally in the summer months, there's nothing.
Okay.
So what are you gonna meet about?
Maybe we can call off the meeting in August if it doesn't look like there's
So
enough
there's no
business
meeting in
for it.
August as
Or-
proposed.
Or the
Yeah.
one in July. If it looks like July is dead, I don't know. Or we can keep it brief.
Yeah.
We could have a fast meeting.
Yeah, ultimately, my concern is having 2 consecutive months without a meeting, and like it's hard to balance that with the summer.
We work it.
And we work it.
It works out for us.
We work.
Yeah.
I have been told that 5E is actually putting the July meeting back on the calendar.
Oh.
Yeah, I talked to the
So
chair.
as soon as they lost you, they.
I talked to the chair the other day,
Yeah.
and she said, yeah, they were putting it back.
Yeah, I would agree with Commissioner Hurst that, you know, we could always have a quick meeting. My worry would be if we have 2 meetings. I mean, I think looking at the dates, the summer date, I think, is what most people tend to take off. However, I think given if there's a ABRA license that we have to respond to, there are set deadlines that are set in. So rather than calling an emergency meeting, we could take off a meeting if needed, if we don't have any business to discuss.
And you can always move meetings back. Zoning meetings, you can move them back.
Exactly.
They don't have to be on that
Even
particular
Abra
day.
meetings.
Yeah.
Abra hearing.
The last.
We will see.
But just to make sure that
How
we're being
much-
responsive to members
Yeah.
of our community
Yeah.
who depend on their ABRA license to go into business. So I think if we can keep to the timeline, I think that would be respectful of the people who are applying for licenses.
Bye.
Like you was on the Abra committee.
Oh,
yeah.
And during the summer months, they
Oh, no.
they
I'm trying to lose
So
10
good.
pounds.
Me too. The cookies can have
I think there were a couple ones where when we came back in September, the deadline to respond to them had passed.
It was not. But okay.
Okay, but let's just see what has happened by May. Because we should know what it's going to be like through December by the projects or the requests we get from now through May. Because a lot has already been done in 5F, and especially when it comes to development. When we had a lot of development, it was nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
but now it is slowed a lot. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
See.
They just, well, it seems to be still going in 5006. We got like 3 big
You're
projects.
about the only one
Yeah.
that has new stuff. Oh, you
Yeah.
have a whole list of stuff
Yeah.
coming.
Shall we go back to the
Yeah.
resolution?
So we're on the resolution still.
Okay.
Further
so we're
debate.
adopting that calendar, was it? That was what we were
So
doing?
there's an amendment to change the 24th.
We adopted that
That
amendment,
adopted.
so now we're on the full resolution. Anybody arguing against the resolution?
No.
All right. Anybody else want to argue for it? Anybody want to say anything?
It's the meeting calendar resolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Sounds
Aye.
like
Okay, aye.
it sounds like there's no further debate.
Okay.
Commissioner Hurst has moved. I believe. I'm sorry. Commissioner Galvan has moved. Is there a second to adopt the resolution?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Since we had an extended debate on it, why don't we do a roll call vote on it? Everybody understand what we're about to vote on? All right.
Yeah.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I will vote last. Commissioner Galvan.
Aye.
Commissioner Hurst.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinckney.
Aye.
Commissioner Sani.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Right.
I will vote aye. 7-0 passes. Resolution's adopted. We have skipped the budget resolution, postpone that until next meeting. And the last one is a resolution to establish a task force on outreach. Commissioner Sani.
Yes, so we are a totally new commission, and part of that means we have none of the infrastructure that previous commissions have. So part of one of our core responsibilities is being able to communicate and share information and receive communications from the public. So to that, I am submitting that we establish a task force focused on setting up our ANC 5F infrastructure that includes website, social media accounts, mailing lists, as well as devising outreach strategies to better send out information and our processes therein. Part of this will also be thanks to Commissioner Galvan for getting today's meeting set up audio visually, but if we continue to do a hybrid meeting structure, so we can involve both the people here physically with us and those tuned in over the internet. We do need to have something that's ANC owned to manage and facilitate these meetings. So what's included here is basically permission from the commission to establish this task force, which upon completion of its work, will disband. All the assets will be property of the commission. And being a task force, we also do get to engage members of the public who have opinions on how to best, how they would best like to communicate with us, participating in that process as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Sani. Open up for discussion or debate. I guess I'll start by thanking you for. We obviously have a chicken and the egg problem where we have to do things before we can do things. And we have a website because Commissioner Sani took it on himself to create one and is $9 out of pocket. And I don't know how much time out of pocket to do that. So I do want to express my gratitude and the Commission's gratitude for helping do that.
Commissioner?
Any debate or discussion?
Yeah, have we decided whether or not we will continue to do a hybrid meeting?
We have not, and this would be a good time,
The time
to discuss that.
discuss it at least. Personally, I think it's a good idea. Because Zoom has worn a lot of people out. Just doing Zoom for the last 3 years or 2.5 years. And I think it's just a good idea to be out and about and be free to sit across from each other and give your thoughts. See the public.
There are dozens of you.
Well, there could be at
Yeah.
some
Appreciate
point.
it.
For those of you who are online, it is standing room only.
Yeah. I think that making sure that we have a virtual component and thank you for bearing with us, everyone. I hope you can continue to hear us. We're still figuring out how to run things fast. Would love your feedback. But making sure that there is a virtual component is really important. I do think that making sure that we are are able to meet in person as it allows makes sense. As long as we do have a virtual component, which I think we keep hearing from folks that it's made it easier for them to participate. So as long as that stays in place, I would be in support of that.
Yes, and so the facilitating the hybrid meeting, having a hybrid meeting also lets you fall pretty easily into virtual in case that needs to happen with society again, but it keeps both options open, as Commissioner Pinckney expressed. Being able to continue to have a physical presence and sit across the table with each other and our constituents, while also engaging those who cannot make it out for a 6 p.m. meeting on a Tuesday because we have lives. So, yes.
Further debate. Mr. Novak.
I would informally second that. I absolutely think virtual is really important for folks, and I would just recommend that we keep that option open for commissioners as well as the public. And we're just not always going to be able to be here, but we should make an effort to be in person and be accountable to folks that can actually see us and talk to us in person. But I think there's just needs to be some understanding that we need to reach other people who can't always make meetings in person. And I think in-person stuff also shortens our time period. For example, I'll mention that we actually have to get out of here by 7:45. This place will close down. So it forces us.
It's only 7:14.
It's only 7:14. But having in person helps keep us to a time frame and respect other people's time. That's all.
Yeah, so I just want to point out the task force is not making any judgment or position on commissioner presence, or it's entirely on facilitating the infrastructure to have a hybrid environment.
Okay.
Understood.
I did want to, I think it was a fair question, and we're not really discussing it formally in any other way of kind of how we want our meetings to be done. So that's why I'm entertaining the discussion now. Further debate or discussion. Commissioner
I'll
Anderson.
just point out that I think that Commissioner Sani, second, I think you've done really great work on this. I also think that making sure that the digital assets are owned by the commission, making that distinction, which is something that you push for, I think is really, really important. And thank you for kind of bringing that into kind of the ANC world.
There are horror stories of other commissions, of commissioners who won't give up accounts and passwords and things, and we'll hope to avoid that here.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion or debate? Any comment on the resolution, including in person versus virtual versus hybrid from the public?
I see as one of the many members of the public here.
Yes, sir. You want to give your name and what neighborhood you live in?
Yeah, sure. I'm Michael. I live down the street here. And I would probably picked the wrong first ANC meeting. I appreciate you all for the work you do. But yeah, I appreciate the website. I'll be honest, it's like hard to find this information at times, and also would just encourage you not to downplay. Like I knew about this meeting because I saw the sign on the door here, so like downplay the importance of just like signage and posting the all the time as well. But would love to get like the website and that type of information to learn more.
Thank you.
And just for folks who are joining virtually, if you would like to comment on this portion, just a reminder to raise your hand using the reactions function.
Did you want to say anything or introduce yourself?
Just thank you all for having this meeting, and glad to meet you all at one place. My name is Mike Clark. I'm president of the Edgewood Civic Association.
Good to see you, Mike.
And I guess my question was, I can comment in the choosing of the bank. I know we choose national banks, but I think industrial bank is one bank we should look at because it's a local DC bank. So it's got local ties, local businesses, headquarters not New York, California, somewhere else, but it's a DC local bank. And I think that, so the decision to have a meeting in July, where the council is actually on recess those 2 months. So even though they're in offices, you really don't have the same networking, there's no legislation going forth at that time or anything, so, you know, that's something to consider, to have to consider. And that's why historically,
We've done it, yeah.
everywhere you go out in July and August, you're out because the council is out, the mayor, all these people on vacation, you know, the budget's been done and all this other stuff is under the table, so. Those couple of things that, you know, I just thought that was interesting. And I think the virtual piece is great, we should keep that. But then again, over the time, you know, if you look at ANC 5E, and before they went virtual, the attendance wasn't that much of a difference. So you didn't see loads of people coming because it was virtual. They still didn't show up.
That's true.
So, you know, you did have, you know, when it was in person, they had to be there, so it's an issue that affected the community. People were there. They came. If ABRA was up, they came. If whatever was up, if it affected the community, the people came, developers came. So just keep that in mind that I think the technology part, I think the biggest challenge in that is you're going to have to, how to reach everybody, as much people as possible.
That's it.
You know, not just through websites and social media, but there's, you know, you saw the sign on the door. There's people who in the community don't across all, they know the meeting was tonight. I ran across people that, you know the meeting? No, I had no idea. I can understand you're new and you're getting started, so you gotta kind of grind through this.
Yeah.
But that's just some things just to keep in mind.
No, and we do have a legal noticing requirement that we do have to post it in multiple places, but we've heard great feedback. Thank you for like continuing the physical signage and announcements, and hopefully coming out of the outreach committee, if you could submit feedback there as to like where you think the best places for signs are.
Yeah, you may have just been volunteered, Mr. Clark.
Let me push it back to the commission. Each commissioner knows his neighborhood.
Yep.
It knows where the sign goes. Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Clark, I want to thank you for being here. I want to take advantage of you being here. Maybe if you could remind us all when the Edgewood Civic Association meets.
This coming Monday.
Yeah.
You know, this coming Monday, got some great opportunities coming to the community. We're meeting with Friday we're having a meeting with MRP and some other folks about the new pickleball and stuff coming in the community. So we're trying to get community support because there's a drone and a robotics program that we're going to help them get support so we have in that community. So there's a lot of interesting things, exciting things for the community.
And just for folks on the phone, what time and where can they go for
The meeting will be at 7 o'clock. It'll be at 6:35 Edgewood. We will also attempt to do virtual. We have been doing virtual, but we're trying to do both of them at this time at this meeting. And we will put that on, I will put it through Nextdoor and all that, the virtual meeting. And we do post flyers and buildings and stuff like that in that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Any further debate or comments? Is there anyone online with their hand raised? All right. With that, the question is called on the resolution sponsored by Commissioner Sani. Did I get a second? I'm sorry. Can someone second it?
One second.
Seconded by Commissioner Galvan. We will I will call the roll. Although I think Commissioner Anderson, you'll be doing this next time. Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I will vote last. Commissioner Galvan.
Aye.
Commissioner Hurst.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinckney.
Aye.
Commissioner Sani.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
I will vote yes. 7-0 passes. I believe the only thing left on our agenda is announcements.
We just made one.
We just made one.
Yes. So just summarizing, if people are keeping track at home, our next meeting will be January 31st.
At
And
7.
I guess we didn't say that.
7 to 9.
7 to 9 it is.
We should figure out where we're holding it.
We should figure out where we're holding
because
it.
the Edgewood Rec Center is
That's
not
right.
from
Yeah.
7 to 9
Yeah,
since
yeah.
they close
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
8.
they
So
close it,
TBD on the exact time and location, but please hold that time on your calendar, or date on the calendar.
And then after that, the fourth Tuesday. Did I say that right? Fourth Tuesday of each month, with the exception of August and December, as noted
No.
earlier.
Oh, right. This December date.
December
is
will be
amended.
earlier, August
Exactly.
canceled. Why don't we do announcements, and I guess we can go around the table if we want. Would you like to go last or first? I'll give you that prerogative.
I don't really have to go at all. I don't
Okay.
have any
Alright.
this month.
Commissioner Hurst?
There's some paperwork for the bank account that needs to get signed by the chair.
And then I have
Chair and
security
treasurer.
fund. I printed out all the security
Oh
fund
yeah, okay,
paperwork.
yeah.
So
If we can do that right after,
and that's
we
you.
can.
That'll be you, me, and Mark. So don't
Got
run
it.
away.
Right, exactly. That's what I was gonna pretty
Yeah.
much be saying.
Any announcements for the public?
Yeah,
No, I'm good.
Any announcements for the public or from the public?
Yeah.
None from me.
None from me.
None from me.
Commissioner Galvan?
Yeah, I'll make an announcement. I actually just got on the phone with DDOT, and for folks before this meeting who aren't aware, there is a plan to put a traffic light at 3rd and Rhode Island Avenue that was approved by DDOT. I learned today that it is going to take about 3 months to complete the design and another 9+ months to actually do the procurement and installation. I'm sure that's subject to change, but I know that that is a very dangerous intersection and difficult to cross for a lot of folks in the neighborhood, and
See the map?
I'll do my best to push this and engage folks as the design kind of comes along. And I
think that's a spot where they usually have crossing guards in the morning for the kids.
correct, because folks typically don't stop there. So anyway, I wanted to let, if folks had not heard that yet, I think it's an important benefit. It's just going to take a little bit of time to get through. And then I think that's the only announcement I have off the top of my head. I have one question. I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but based on the bylaws that were just approved, there were several committees that were added to there. And how are we determining how those committees kind of get started? Are they just organic, or?
It's up to us on how to populate them. One way we could do this is the outreach task force can put together a and we also have to populate that because right now you're the only member of it. I don't know whether you're okay with that or you want more. We want help. Group projects, sometimes 3 people doesn't mean 3 times as much work, but gets done. But maybe have the outreach task force come up with a application, or if we want to use a different term for it, we can use a different term for it for those committees, and then we either can then approve it as a commission, or we can task them with doing it.
Yeah, but I think the bylaws also state that they essentially all the committee members have to be appointed by commission,
it'll all
right?
come.
Yeah.
The applications will all come to us, and
Yeah.
we'll have to decide how we want to proceed with that.
So it's
Okay.
not truly just organic necessarily in that sense, but kind of there is we should set out like an application, a formal procedure for how to do it. But basically they do have to be appointed by the commission.
But thank you for flagging, because we should populate the task force if anybody wants to volunteer to join Commissioner Sani on the multiple tasks we've just voted to give him. So, Commissioner Anderson, I think you raised your hand. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Commissioner Galvan, anyone else?
Is this to make committee? Sorry, what is it that we're
This is
volunteering
the
to
outreach
do?
task force that we created, chaired by Commissioner Sani.
That will,
Website, email list,
Application for
application,
joining or applying to
committees.
okay, the committees.
yeah.
One quick question on the committees. Will those individuals joining the various committees have to take training? For instance, if it's a zoning committee, will they have to take zoning 101 or ABRA 101, whatever it is? Because that would be very helpful to the people on the committee.
I guess a question on the application could be, have you watched this video on,
And each of those city agencies offer 101 trainings to the public
Yeah,
as well.
and I think OANC is now making it.
You just have to work it out.
yeah.
And OANC has been putting a lot more on YouTube as well, which I think is helpful for people who want to learn and join, but who are not. But I agree that that'll be a good.
Yeah, that's a good point. Every first meeting of the committee should be movie day.
And final question on the committee, will the individuals on the committee be aware that any decisions they make and forward to the ANC, those are just suggestions to us.
Yes.
They're not permanent, okay.
Yeah. And
Because people do
They're
get
all-
upset.
they're
They
all
don't know
advisory,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
I mean, they don't exist yet, so we'll have to make clear to
Yeah,
them
yeah.
once once they're created.
So
but
as the outreach task force drafts language on this, make sure
This would
it's,
go on the website
yeah.
as we call out the committees and the application process, but this is good copy to call out Commissioner Pinckney, so I'll make sure it's part of that.
So
draft.
I have Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Galvan to join Commissioner Sani on the task force. Is there any objection to that being our outreach task force?
Not one.
No.
Will it be like
Without
a
objection.
paper form application, or
Um,
will it just be a volunteer, I wanna be on this committee, can I be on this committee?
Hey,
Type of thing.
so, still, that ultimately, I think the final decision will come out of the task force or recommendation. The commission in general has to vote to adopt the findings. But my general sentiment is that we offer like a digital form, you can type in your name, and then offer like a physical copy of that for people who are not comfortable with that and would rather hand a piece of paper to a commissioner. But giving a way for people to submit structured requests to the commission to be considered for appointment to a committee.
Considered.
Commissioner Williams, did you have a suggestion of what he might do to supplement that?
I was about to ask him.
Okay.
He used the word consider. So it's gonna be a process where we vote on them being on the committee?
So if we have an application, there has to be some process by which we determine if someone gets to participate. Is that correct? Because I know we have an attendance.
Yeah, the commission decides, and it's not spelled out precisely what we do on that. So
We can
No, I'm
say,
just asking because I chaired the ABRA committee. And it was basically, I put it out there for people to join. They showed up, well, at the meetings and we accepted them. Wasn't no, well, we accept you, no application process.
Okay.
And I offered, whenever ABRA had training, I made sure they were included on this training every time. Lord. This is why I'm asking, so I can get
no, that's good. That's good insight.
and
Right.
yeah, and this form can be it's not it shouldn't be seen as anything more than us collecting information that we can.
Get the basics, the
Yeah.
name, where they live,
If they,
why they're
what,
interested.
what single member district they live in.
Because we want to make sure, I don't stack the committees with a bunch of people from my district. So.
I know you want to.
I think, or sorry, Commissioner Harris, we're trying to get it.
Sure. I guess I have a question for, people have been hitting me up with different emails already. I'm sure maybe everybody's has this. But like for the people that really want more trash cans close to where they live, I've been saying, and maybe I'm wrong to be saying this, well, pretty soon we'll probably have a committee, and if you're interested in pushing that part of it, there may be a committee that and I haven't really told them that there's an application or how it's going.
So I think what we can maybe try to commit to do is before our January 31st meeting, we put together a proposal, we can discuss it, and then go from there,
Okay.
if that sounds good. And I think the word application is pretty loose. I think
Okay.
what,
Yeah.
having served on the ABRA committee for 5E,
Oh, okay.
I think what was helpful is that if there are standing committee members and people commit to coming to every meeting, I think what we struggled with was meeting quorum. So certainly, I would support that the meeting. I mean, I think that the meeting should all be open to the public, but having some regular group of people who meet consistently would be helpful in carrying these issues forward. But why don't we commit to kind of getting some ideas so that we have something to kind of respond
we
to
can
by the
demote
31st.
that in terms of severity from application to sign up. I
Right,
think
form.
that is less of a. It was my intention to have a term that would be considered to be screening or exclusionary. So I think properly phrasing like that would be important.
I have a suggestion.
It's fine.
Can Commissioner Williams and I offer you what 5E used for our committees?
Yes, ma'am. I think having
And if you add, that's what you're trying to do, That might help and it might save some time.
I remember I filled one out
And also,
about 3 years ago.
when it comes to trash cans on our blocks, they have been removed
Oh,
because of house trash.
yeah. I've been seeing some
Yeah,
of
they're
that.
gone.
But okay.
They're like
But
downtown and in additional commercial districts, but not within our
Sure.
community.
Sure.
Very few.
Is that
Very few.
DPW or who is that?
I think there's also now a law that has to go through city council or the ANC if they do want to remove a trash can, but that's already after they've taken a bunch out.
No,
It's
they're
kind of
they're yanking all of the ones on my block.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because of outside trash.
oh man. Well, yeah. Okay.
Topic for the future, I think.
Yes. I don't want,
That should be a
I don't wanna
topic.
open up that, yeah.
I think that is a topic that
Of
people
the
want to
committee.
discuss.
Oh,
We should
yeah,
This is the
absolutely.
Figure out a way to do that.
Well, we should do it while there's when there's a DPW representative here to answer our questions.
Yeah. I just want to do a quick time check that it's 7:30
Yes,
and we have to be
7:30,
out of the room by 7:45.
I think we're good on the outreach task force. I think we're still on announcements, and I just want to make
I'm
sure
done.
everybody's done. Commissioner, all right. My announcement is in the 12 months it will apparently take to build a traffic light at 3rd and Rhode Island. They will be completing the access to the trail at the new building at the foot of Florida and Florida Avenue and the MBT. That will include a a stairway and an elevator from the MBT at the location that we had that temporary access before construction started on 202 Florida. I just toured the building and talked to the construction manager. They have now reopened the sidewalk on the north side of Florida, connecting from District 5 from Commission 5F area to the Union Market area. So that's now reopened, and they're eager to get this done. And they want to be good neighbors on construction. So certainly, if you hear any problems associated with that construction, let me know. I have a cell number, and I can bug them about it. But they're, like I said, they're trying to be good neighbors. So by year end, we'll have access again to Florida. That's all I have. Any further announcements? Any comments from the public?
I do not see any hands raised.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Moved by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by
I
Commissioner
move to
Sani.
I second Commissioner
Is there any objection? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
All right.
It's fun to sit next time.
Recording.
We'll
Yeah.
do it again soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Soon enough. Hey, is it alright if I take this? I'm gonna go try and see if we can put lots of people put lots of signatures on some papers.
Yeah.
Be the best.
Yeah.
Hey, that was an hour and a half meeting.
Not
Nice.
as bad as it could.